Hello. Y'all, if you were on the stage before, it's like gone and I'm back. Or if you went to another session, I want to see what sessions have y'all been at? Were you just on the Amplify stage last time? Or where was y'all at? What have y'all been enjoying? Come on, I want to see it in the chat. Bart, my good friend Bart. Hi, friend. So good to see you. Hello, Cassandra. Thank you. I appreciate you. What I want to know from y'all in the chat, what have you been learning? What has been popping up for you? What has it been giving? Okay, beyond Giving Tuesday. What has it been giving? Thank you, Anna. Amplify, William was on the Amplify stage. Nigeria in the house. Come on, Ahmed. Come on, somebody. I want to see in the chat what y'all been learning. I want to know, okay? And while y'all are thinking about that, I'm going to talk about our first sponsor. Okay, one of our sponsors, and they're also going to be leading this session today, is our good friends at Amazon. I know y'all love Prime Day. I know y'all love all the different awards. I know y'all love fast delivery, but did you know they are helping deliver services to the nonprofit sector too? Come on, somebody. Well, y'all, AWS nonprofits of all sizes are using AWS to increase support, expand awareness, and advance mission impact locally and globally. Come on, somebody. So our good friend Ahmed and all of our friends around the world, they got you too, okay? Whether you are working to generate donor, member, or volunteer insights through managed databases and analytics, accelerate research through machine learning and AI, optimize program delivery through scalable websites and applications, or just getting started, AWS is here to help, okay? And we got a fun little video to go along and show you AWS in action. All right, take it away, video. I hope.
Nonprofits are out to solve some of the world's most pressing challenges. As a trusted collaborator for more than 85,000 nonprofits worldwide, AWS is helping advance mission impact with technology that enables nonprofits to do more with less. With AWS Cloud Solutions, nonprofits can become even more efficient and effective while building for scale, allowing more time to innovate for the cause. With a suite of over 200 cloud services, nonprofits can unlock valuable donor and member insights, accelerate scientific breakthroughs, enhance program delivery and decision-making, and safeguard infrastructure and data. AWS's comprehensive set of security services ensure you can operate with confidence. Best of all, AWS offers flexible pricing, so you only pay for what you need, allowing your organization to innovate for greater impact in a way that's affordable. The dedicated AWS for Nonprofits team offers a variety of programs and resources tailored for nonprofits. The work of nonprofits is extraordinary. We're inspired by your vision of tomorrow, and we're here to help you start building it today. That's AWS for Nonprofits. Learn more at aws.amazon.com/NPO.
Yes, you can learn. Can y'all hear me? Am I on stage? Okay, good. Y'all can learn more about our good friends at AWS by checking out that CTA. Y'all, also, I saw what y'all put in the chat. Liz said, as a small organization that is young, I expanded the awareness for the organization needs to manage. So you're using AI and learning about that. Bart, my good friend Bart, says, Charian said donors want to give, so let's let them do what they want and get out of their way. I'm also seeing a lot of y'all say that it's a lot to take in. So remember what we talked about in our first session. You have to get clear why you are here, okay? We're gonna talk about so many different things over the next couple of days, so just get clear on what matters to you, for your people, and leave the rest. AI always gonna be here, okay? But we are going to dive into that and so much more also into this next session with our good friend Kelly from AWS. All right. So for more than 2 decades, Kelly has been joining companies looking to build their future. A dynamic leader, Kelly amplifies what works and co-creates modern strategies that drive measurable, sustained results. As an extension of the organization, she honors what's working, but never settles for it because we can't be successful if we remain static. Come on, somebody. As a direct and decisive leader who sees where we're going, as leaders and organization and industry, she makes new and powerful connections to accelerate impact. Today, Kelly proudly applies these skills to support more than 85,000 nonprofits around the world that utilize AWS Cloud to deliver on their mission. Y'all, can you please help me welcome the one and only Kelly from AWS? Hey, Kelly.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm so good, and I'm excited to hear you break it all the way down. Okay, take it away, friend.
Who needs a walk-up song? We just need Floyd to introduce us all day long. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. What an exciting way to start this week with this incredible community. I'm so grateful to be back here this year. This is my second year presenting, and I spent a lot of time this year talking and listening to folks out in the field about what it was that they wanted to hear about while we were together, what part of the world of AI and nonprofit was going to be top of mind for them. And so, what we are going to talk about today is how to take a moment that has felt a little bit like a crisis and turn it into a catalyst for changes that many of us, quite frankly, knew we needed to make long ago. And the moment has arrived. And so, we're going to talk through some real life practical solutions to help you do that. I'm going to go ahead and share some screen slides for our time together today, and hopefully you guys can all see this now. These will be available after the fact, and I promise you there is going to be some real action-oriented aspects, and for those that are feeling overwhelmed and feeling like this is a lot of content to take in, we've really aimed to keep this simple today so that they are things that are not overwhelming or contributing to the pressure that you feel, but really are helping add some value to that. So by way of context, I want to tell those of you that I don't know a little bit about myself so that you know the lens that I bring. As I mentioned, Kelly Hecht, I serve in a role called Executive Industry Advisor that is on the nonprofit team at AWS. I get a lot of questions about what that means. We are not the foundation. We are not necessarily like the granting arm or the CSR arm of AWS, but instead we serve as a strategic partner. So I get to sit alongside leaders like you every day and hear what challenges and what problems they're facing and see if there are ways that I can help bring resource to bear for them. I'm also a mom of two awesome teenage girls. I am a runner, although on pause, tending to a meniscus injury. So anyone who's been through that can send me some good vibes through the video. I reluctantly got a dog during COVID in case anyone else did that as well. And I love to eat. I love to volunteer. I love to spend time in Maine. And this time of year, I'm a proud Wisconsin Badger alumni, despite a very disappointing loss over the weekend. So that tells you a little bit about me. Why is this important? This is important because everything that I'm going to share with you today is an interpretation and a translation of information that I have learned since joining AWS. I did not join AWS with a deep or robust knowledge of technology. I didn't really know what the cloud was. I felt a lot like this woman in the picture. I was overwhelmed by things that were coming at me, both from my time at the American Cancer Society in leading nonprofit fundraising strategies and marketing efforts and dealing with complexity that as it relates to how we are working in that particular case with chapters or working with different departments. And then you add to that in today's environment, leaders are dealing with economic challenges. We are dealing with policy coming at us pretty regularly. We are dealing with things like return to office and employee expectations. These are all just very real and specific challenges that are facing our sector right now, which is why I use the word crisis, because it honestly on any given day can feel that way, can feel very overwhelming. So let's start with a couple of basics, just so that we can get a sense of sort of where some of this stress might be starting. So since the beginning of this year, needless to say, we have been navigating some pretty significant policy changes coming from our federal government here in the US. For those that are abroad, you're likely tracking it as well. But USAID was dismantled earlier this year. there have been nearly 200 executive orders that have had an implication on the nonprofit sector and therefore us as leaders, and the largest tax overhaul since 2017. HR 1, some people refer to it as the Big Beautiful Bill, had some pretty significant policy changes that, candidly, I don't know about you, but I don't spend my days reading legislation. So even sifting through that to understand what parts related to me and didn't relate to me, and helping the organizations that I work with parse through that as well, was a moment that took some time. And then we had the funding cuts to public broadcasting. So anyone in that field or adjacent to that field certainly felt it. So why do I say all of this? It's not to be Debbie Downer. It's not to focus on the past. It's to acknowledge that these are just some of the realities we're facing, and that the opportunity stands before us, as you heard this morning, to be proactive, to really think about how do we acknowledge some of these realities and harness them as a catalyst for where we need to go. Well, then came AI, right? And I think this visual is so funny. It was shared with me by Scott Rosenkrantz, who you guys may have heard on an earlier stage this morning. It's from a gentleman named Matt Truck. And he's published this over the last few years. And what this is a visual of are companies that are offering AI enabled services, right? So, as you can sense, no wonder that poor woman has her head on the table, and no wonder we all feel overwhelmed. There's a lot coming at us. How are you supposed to decipher what has responsible and beneficial protocols baked in? How are you supposed to determine which really understands the unique needs of the nonprofit sector? All of these things are part of why we feel so overwhelmed. And so, to sort of steal, if you were on the session where Mallory opened this morning, taking a breath, feeling your breath, acknowledging that this is not made up. It's very real, but it's not something that we have to sit in without power or without voice to make changes around. So the way that I'm going to approach that with you guys today is to actually pull on some frameworks that I have been exposed to since joining Amazon and AWS. Most people know that Amazon's grounded in a belief to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And customer obsession really grounds everything we do, and in particular is the basis of something called Amazon's culture of innovation. And you can Google it, you can drop it into your preferred GPT model. You can talk to folks like me about it, but there's some really important like mind mapping exercises that we utilize in this. And the reason that I want to bring this forward is because how we approach this moment that we're facing is not about a single solution. It's not about a single piece of technology. It's really more about mental models that we can use in approaching any one of the things that are standing before us today or that might come at us tomorrow. So in order to do that, I'm going to share some of the practices that I have learned and invite you to then take them and use them in your teams, within your organizations, so that you can help translate what may feel overwhelming and confusing into something that's a little bit more productive and useful for the work that you need to accomplish. Okay, so how many of you have used Prime or are a Prime member? Maybe have a Kindle, or as Floyd mentioned, are one of the 85,000 nonprofits around the world using AWS. If you are, then you have already experienced one of our renowned mental models, which is something called working backwards. Okay. And again, Google it, drop it into your preferred GPT. There's a pretty widely known and embraced mental model that we use. The reason that I use these examples is because we use working backwards all day, every day within the walls of Amazon and AWS. And these are three outcomes that came from a working backwards session or series of sessions that have now come to bear and are setting new standards in the sector. What is the big difference between working backwards and any other design thinking or other mental models that might exist out there? My experience has been the relationship between current state and future state. So, for most of my career, when I was sitting at the American Cancer Society or I was sitting alongside customers that I was working with when I was consulting, we would start with the current state. We would think about the problems, the challenges, the issues that were standing before us, and we would try to solve from them. But we always started in the moment we were in as a way to get out of it. Working backwards is really about transporting yourself to a future state, imagining a moment that has already been realized in the future and working backwards from there. And that really subtle shift actually proves to be quite important as it relates to the way that you approach problem solving, ideation, prioritization, and so on. So that's why I really want to take a minute to separate this. If you have been part of a working backwards session, or if you've heard about a working backwards session, one of the things you know is that it starts with a press release. And the press release is really important, right? Because it starts with a headline. You're announcing something. So if you're having a hard time sort of imagining how to get out of thinking from the current state and starting from the future state, one way you can do that is by writing down the headline of a press release for something that you're announcing because it has already happened and already been solved. And that's a great way to sort of think differently and start to shift your mindset into a working backwards mindset. Okay, so once you're there are 5 things that I'm going to share with you today as a way to help you, your colleagues, your leaders, your organization go ahead and shift your thinking to a future state from which you can work backwards. Now, you're going to hear me use the word leader quite a bit on this. And I do just want to say right off the bat, when I say leader, I do not mean from an HR perspective. I don't mean, do you manage a team? Are you an executive? All of us are leaders. I really believe in that. I really believe that every one of us has a sphere of influence and the ability to affect change. So when you hear me say leader today, please know that I'm speaking to each and every person on this phone for the leadership that you stand to be able to bring to bear. Okay, so step 1, where are we going to start? We are going to start by using 2 in particular mental models from the culture of innovation to harness new opportunities. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce you to the first. If you have not already heard of it, adopting a day 1 mindset is a really fundamental part of how you can keep focused in the customer obsession that really drives innovation and constantly challenges us to think bigger and deliver better. So there's a great quote that grounds this about how customers are beautifully and wonderfully dissatisfied. And if we stop sort of thinking about that as a criticism and instead think of that as an opportunity, we're looking at ways to always be approaching something as though it's our very first day, where we are fresh and we are passionate and we have not yet been jaded by the way things always have been done, right? And so when you adopt a day 1 mindset as part of your approach, what you find is that you really do keep an open mind, you bring a lot of curiosity, and you're able to ideate and innovate in a much bigger and more powerful way. So you'll probably now start to notice that anyone who's ever worked at Amazon or who is working at Amazon uses this phrase pretty often. But it's one that's available to any and all of us to use in the way that we think about leading our work, leading our teams, leading our colleagues. The second mental model I want to share with you is this concept of a one-way or two-way door. And the way that I use this mental model is as it relates to prioritization. So the analogy goes that if something is a one-way door decision, it means once you go through it, you're there, you're on the other side, and it's pretty hard to come back from. So think about this as anything that is a very significant expense or investment of time, anything that once you put into motion or into place, it would really be undesirable to have to come back from, okay, or have to change your mind around. Personal example on this, I once decided to move from New York to California. I didn't care for California. It was pretty complicated to work backwards from that and have to shift that around. So that's sort of a silly example of a one-way door example. Conversely, two-way doors, right? They swing back and forth all the time. That's a reason that in the good old days when the diner was flowing, and remember the old waitresses on roller skates, they'd skate in and out of that two-way door. And that's because you can make a decision and come back from it pretty quickly. So these are good mental models because as you're prioritizing things that are on the to-do list, as you're looking at whether or not to experiment with something or go ahead and test an innovation, these are great grounding elements to think about. Is it a one-way door test or a two-way door test? If we launched it, would it be easy to come back from or complicated to come back from? And hopefully that will really help you as it relates to sort of objectively making decisions on where and how to move through all that's coming at you, all that you're being tasked with, both navigating and planning for. Okay. Item number 2 is we talked about customer obsession. We talked about wonderfully dissatisfied customers and our ability to delight them. Well, in order to do that, we have to be really clear on who our customer is. And I don't mean that in a general or sort of superficial way. Yes, many would say our customers are a constituent who has a passion for our mission, or maybe a donor who has given to one of our organizations. But if we think a little bit deeper around that, it'll help us get more clear in what we're building and how we truly delight them. So there are a handful of questions that we have found time and time again as part of our working backwards process are really helpful in defining who your customer is. The first is to think about 5 characteristics that they have. And the more specific you can get here, the better. Really push yourself, challenge yourself, be curious to think of how would you define them? How would you distinguish them from another organization that might even have a similar or adjacent mission to yours? The more specific you can get here, the more crystal clear it will become as you start to navigate through the things that you need to prioritize and activate around to deliver on your mission. Once you really sort of honed in on those 5 specific characteristics, then you can determine what is the most important need that they want, that they are seeking from you. And again, really push yourself through, use Simon Sinek's 5 whys. Why is that important to them? Why would they find value in that? Allow yourself and anyone that's collaborating on this with you to really get as detailed and specific as you can on what is their most important need. From there, think about the benefit that offers. So you've identified what they need from you. How would that benefit, a solution, an approach, a user experience? What benefit would that bring to bear for them to really change their experience? And this is a super interesting one about what evidence do you have to validate that? This is an opportunity to sort of check our assumptions, check our biases, make sure that we have full represented perspective as we are thinking through these items. So think about what's informing how you answered those first 3 questions, and don't hesitate to bring a different source or a different perspective in at this point. And then last but not least, you actually then can look at what the experience is. And how have you at this point started to imagine something that would transform what that individual or that group of people are looking for in a way that would definitely surprise and delight them. So hopefully using the day 1 mentality, imagining whether something is a one-way or two-way door decision that you're going to work on, and then taking these 5 questions to get really specific on who your audience is, you're starting to see how all that noise and all that stress is becoming a little bit more manageable and a little bit more digestible as you organize it within all the other things that you're tasked with doing. All right. So now we're going to switch to number 3, which is an invitation to reframe AI from being someone else's responsibility to being everyone's responsibility, all of our responsibility. This is an important one because it comes back to sphere of influence. It comes back to our ability to take ownership and leadership at a moment where it's incredibly important for a couple of reasons we'll talk about from a policy perspective, but also because it's moving really fast. And so we need to be sure that we're in a position to help inform that in a positive, responsible, and beneficial way. So there's a growing belief, and I think I first heard about this from Nathan, but I suspect there are many others out there, that it takes about 10 hours of using generative AI tools to reconfigure the way that our brain thinks about interacting with the technology. So, what I mean by that is for most of our lives, we are used to Googling something, right? Or searching something. And in that case, we have generally asked a question, we're given a set of responses, we review and evaluate, and then select the one that best meets our needs, right? So historically, our brains have interacted with technology using a search and evaluate mindset. When we switch to generative AI tools, it's really much more collaborative. It's not a one and done, right? We ask something, we're given information. We usually ask more, we're given more rich information. Some of the morning sessions have even live demoed how this takes place. So, in this particular case, we're moving from a search and evaluate mindset to more of a conversational and discussion and collaborative environment. And that can take about 10 hours of practice. Now, not sustained, not to worry, you are going to get some sleep. But you might think to yourself, today, how long have you already spent either this morning or this week or this month? Over the last few months, how many hours have you spent? Once you've sort of clocked that 10-hour mark, you're starting to get a little bit more comfortable. That muscle's feeling a little bit stronger, and you're probably even shifting a little bit more into use of generative AI as your primary mindset rather than your search and evaluate. And this is a good data point to also bring to your team. Ask people about how many years do they think how many hours do they think they've invested so far? You'll get a sense of how mature or nascent your team is, and team can be peers or can be folks that report into you. I find this one sort of interesting also to ask your leadership, because sometimes what we find is folks who are doing the work day in and day out every day are more proficient at using some of these new emerging tools than some of our senior leaders. So, good questions to ask up, down, and sideways to get a sense of where everyone is. This is particularly important because for those that are following some of the policy updates, the National Communication and Information Administration recently came out with a decision that they are not going to enforce policy at the federal level. As a result, that means that the responsible and beneficial adoption of AI, what we're all here for these next 2 days to learn about, is ours to manage and maintain. That the trust with our constituents, with our donors, with our colleagues, with our partners, with our customers will be earned and lost at our sector level. So it is more important than ever that we really take this responsibility to heart and that we take an ownership role in everything that we do, which is why we sort of picked this one to be key in thinking about what role we will play as opposed to looking to someone else to take care of this for us. Okay, so how do we maintain responsible and beneficial adoption of AI if we don't even know what AI is, right? And I would say if you are fading, if you're thinking of going to another stage, hold up, wake up. This is probably going to be the most important part. Just these next 3 slides with me are really important that we demystify AI and we all start using the terminology more accurately. So, first and foremost, definition. It is any technique that allows computers to mimic human intelligence using logic, if then statements, and machine learning. The thing I really want you to take away here is any technique. Okay? The reason is because artificial intelligence or AI is not a singular thing. It is many things, or to be more specific, it is 4 types of things. And I say that because I often hear people using it in a singular or absolute frame. And I just think it's not helpful to the way that we're all learning and adapting and embracing this new capability as they're emerging. And so, what I want to do is really break down with clarity, I hope, what these four components are and why it matters that we use them in a specific and deliberate way. So, artificial intelligence, as I mentioned, is any technique, so therefore multiple. And it's really thought of in four categories: machine learning or ML, deep learning, generative AI, and in recent months, agentic AI has come to pass. Now, keep in mind, if you're watching this 6 months from now, there may be a fifth. But right now, these are the four that really have our attention. Machine learning and deep learning are predictive AI tools. Okay. So that means they take past information and they make their best prediction based on that. You can think of this like the weather, right? It's taking all of the information of weather and it's making a prediction. If you look at how long it's going to take to drive from point A to point B at a certain date and time, that is predictive. It's going to give you a prediction. One of my favorite ones is when I open up my Open Table app, right? And it'll sometimes say, here are some other restaurants you might like. That is predictive. It is looking at things that I have done before to make a prediction on a restaurant that I might like. Conversely, generative AI and agentic AI are a blend of generative. And like it describes, that means something new. It is creating something that did not previously exist. Okay. So this is where you might think about the fact that imagine if you were to say, I've eaten at these 5 restaurants, create a new restaurant that you think I would love. Maybe it is a fusion restaurant then that spans 3 different types of foods that you've eaten in the past, right? Or oftentimes people are using generative AI to help take information and create a project list or the draft of an email, right? So these are all reasons that the difference between knowing what's predictive and knowing what's generative is really important. Agentic is super fun because you got multiple things happening, right? In an agentic environment, there are literally different agents. You can see we're sort of joking with our 3 little heads down here. And one might be using some predictive information, one might be using some generative information, and it's bringing it all together in a way that organizes it. So, just really important that as we think about and talk about and explore artificial intelligence and the way that it can show up in helping us solve our problems, that we do so in a way that is distinct, because it would be unfortunate if you used a generative AI tool to solve a problem that actually needed a predictive AI tool. And if you aren't sure, awesome, ask. I assure you that the partners you're working with and the leaders that you're part of will have the information and will help ensure that you can get the right tool for the right need. Okay, moving on to our last 2 items to help you. Item number 4 is as a project that you can do independently with a team that will help you turn your roadblocks into runways. And we're going to do this in particular by starting with some lists. So, action item 1 is either by yourself or with your team, write down all the tasks that you do daily, weekly, and monthly. Okay. Most forms of AI, both predictive and generative, do well with repetition. So if you can start to think about the tasks you're doing daily, weekly, and monthly, you will find a great starting point for ways that you can start to integrate different AI tools into helping you solve some of your problems. The second list I'm going to have you create is any task you don't enjoy doing. And I say that because in the early days when people were worried about AI taking over their job, one of the nice mental shifts is just to have it take over the parts of your job that you don't want to do and leave you more time to focus on the things that you're best in the world at and that you really love doing. And so that second list of all the tasks you don't really love to do is a great second list to create in how you're going to then go ahead and create opportunities to integrate AI into the work that you do. Okay, so once you have your 2 lists, then you can start to think about who are all the technology partners that you're working with. You've heard me mention, you heard Floyd mention, there's about 85,000 nonprofits that are using AWS today. And many of them don't even know that they are. Why? Because oftentimes AWS is thought of an IT solution. And so people in marketing or fundraising or operations or programs don't necessarily think about themselves as an AWS customer. So do yourselves a favor and walk over to IT or walk over to your CFO or your finance department and find out who are all the technology partners that you're utilizing, because they too are a great source to start thinking about, one, where is AI already being integrated, whether it be predictive, or generative, or maybe even some are starting to use agentic. And then also to figure out what resources do they have available that might help you begin to solve some of the challenges that are on your list, either the first list, the second list, or just the wish list of what's to come. When you do that, you can then start to think about, what tasks can AI do more efficiently than I can or that my team can, that would free us up to do the things we are uniquely qualified to do. And that is a really amazing moment, because that is when you start to feel the benefits of all of this talking and listening and learning and adopting, right? Is when it actually starts to hit your everyday life in a way that is adding relief and value to the goals that you're looking to achieve. And last but not least, do not forget to share and celebrate in a public forum. I say this because oftentimes I find that people are sort of hiding what they're doing with various AI tools, whether it be a GPT model or whether it be a tool that they're using. But we want to make sure that we're sharing what's working, what's not working, and candidly, sharing, because if for some reason you are inadvertently using something that is either against the policies of your organization or not ideal for reasons that you may not have been aware, it's important to have that transparency so that, again, we can maintain ownership, trust at the sector level about the responsible and beneficial adoption. I will also say, for those of you that are in a C-suite or senior leadership role, please, please, please lead by example here. Your sharing and your openness, whether it be confusion, uncertainty, or a celebration, is really important to this process. And so go ahead and let's maybe even get your CEO to be the one to start. All right, last but not least, this is a muscle. I talked about the 10 hours, but it's something that's going to continually take time for us to learn, test, and grow with. So one thing that I've been playing with that's relatively new and candidly a little bit harder than I expected is something called Crypt, where you tell whichever GPT model you're using who you are, right? I'm Kelly, and I work with nonprofit organizations, and I try to help people understand how technology can help their unique challenges. Tell it who you need it to be. I need you to be an expert in the responsible and beneficial adoption of AI in our sector. Now, have it ask you questions to extract your expertise. So I might say, ask me 5 sequential questions about the challenges that I'm hearing as I'm out and about talking to leaders every day. This one is super interesting because for the last 2 years, we've been in the habit of us asking GPTs the question. But what you find is when it starts to ask you questions, it's amazing how much of your instinct and institutional knowledge starts to become unlocked, which is one of our most powerful and exceptional tools as a sector. And then you can ask it to blend all of the above to give you information. So now it's getting the best of what's in your brain, the best of what it has access to, and it can start to put things together. So hopefully this is a fun little test. It's something I'm continuing to play around with, and I'm finding to be pretty beneficial. All right, let's summarize them. Here you go. If you're going to take a screenshot, here's a good one to take. So go ahead and utilize Amazon's culture of innovation, in particular using the day one mentality and the one-way and two-way door mental models to help guide your prioritization. Get clear on who your customer is. Make them unique and distinct to your organization, your mission, and what you're particularly bringing to bear in support of that. Make sure that you reframe AI from someone else's responsibility to all of our responsibilities so that we can maintain trust at the sector level. Make those lists as a way to start turning your roadblock into a runway, and dedicate time to test, learn, and grow. here are a couple of great resources for the learning. Obviously, Nonprofit AI is an extraordinary book. As those of you who haven't gotten one, it's right up there. It is more of a reference material, so you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can open up to the section that's useful for you. AWS and many other technology providers have skill builder sessions. There's master classes that you can find. So there's tons of great content out there. And then experiment with it. Pick whatever GPT model you use and brainstorm, interview yourself, create an analogy, ask it to shorten a job description for you or start a blog post. Maybe it's even just recommending which book you should start with. But all great ways for you to go ahead and start to experiment. If there's anything I can do or your AWS account executive can do, please, please, please don't hesitate to let us know. We'd be happy to help make that introduction and explore inspiring stories of success. And of course, you can always find me on LinkedIn, where I'm usually musing about some random idea that's come to me that day. So I hope this information has decreased your level of stress and has increased your confidence and your enthusiasm as it relates to how you are going to take ownership in moving forward in the responsible and beneficial adoption of AI to serve your mission.
Kelly,
Woo!
you did that. You did that. That was so good. One of my favorites was like, AI isn't one thing, and you broke it down to all the different. I said, she's saying AI isn't one thing, it's all the things. Okay. You were giving us all the, and then you said there's more coming soon. I said that was amazing. Okay. So make sure y'all know which kind of AI you're using. Amen. But one thing that you talked about that I thought was really interesting that I want to really double down in on was building a culture of learning, right? One thing I'm noticing and seeing is that, okay, the people who are on this call, we get it, right? We're trying to learn, we're trying to grow, but a lot of us on this call aren't necessarily the ones leading our organizations, or maybe there's not a widespread adoption at the top. Talk to us about how do we help plant seeds and build a culture of innovation, but also AI adoption across the board.
Yeah, it's really important. And I think the truth of the matter is it just starts with not having to feel like an expert. There are a few things that bother me more when I see someone represent themselves as an AI expert, because it's moving so fast. How could anyone be, right? We're all learning and growing. And I just think it's important to sort of sit in that vulnerability to say, I don't know, that's okay. So part of that is really just about being curious and asking the questions and trying things. Now, as I mentioned, we do need to be responsible and thoughtful about how we test, where we try, what information we're using. That's why I always encourage people to start with something sort of trivial and superficial, like a book recommendation or a restaurant recommendation. Or I was talking to someone this weekend who's a speed puzzler. And so using AI to get tips and tricks for speed puzzling, right? So that is a great use of generative AI, which I think is a really much more user-friendly place to start. But really just to have the open conversation about it is really important. And I think our sector does beautifully. So we're good to lead the way with that.
I love that. And if you have suggestions on how you're using it within your organization and in your life, please put it in the chat. Someone said I use it for recipes.
Yeah.
One thing that I have been doing was omitting names, but when I'm working with organizations, I use it for segmentation, actually, when I'm trying to segment donors. And I'm trying to understand, okay, how many donors do we have at this specific level? And how many donors do we have at this specific level? What trends are working within our organization, right? Now, that might be a little advanced, right? But you got to give yourself little baby steps like Kelly was talking about. I love the breakdown that you said about what are you doing? And then also, what don't you like to do? Come on, somebody. So maybe we'll talk about, oh, I don't like that. What don't you like to do? And if you don't even know where your time is going, I actually use a platform called Harvest, where I actually track my time. And then every single week it says, okay, hey, here's the biggest thing that's taking up your time. You know what I'm saying? And then now I download that. I put it into AI. I said, hey, AI, what are the trends that you're seeing? What are the things that are moving the needle? What are the things holding me back? And then it recommends more tools. You see what I'm saying? So, yep. Kelly, that was so good. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your expertise. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And thanks to everyone for spending some time with me. I can't wait to jump into the next session.
Yes, y'all put some love in the chat. This is where it was at. Kelly was amazing. Y'all, this is some good stuff. I am loving all of this. I don't know about you. I want y'all to know, what did y'all think about that session? We have our fun, our QR code, y'all. So please let us know what you thought about that session, okay? And also, we have a lounge. Kelly is gonna meet you in the lounge. You already know it's going down in the where? It's going down in the lounge, where you can ask Kelly anything about crisis to catalyst, applying Amazon's culture of innovation. I don't know about you, but I want to be like, I want to grow like Amazon. Okay. All I know is that I want to be fast. Okay. I asked for something and it's here tomorrow. Come on, somebody. All right. Next, remember, this is exactly how you're going to join the lounge also. Make sure you navigate above where next to the reception header tool, and you click lounge, and then you're going to be able to see Kelly there. We also, listen, we can't do this without thanking our sponsors, okay? Every single time, I'm gonna call out another one, okay? We're gonna call out Tango today. We're gonna call out Avid. We're gonna call out Bonterra, okay? All of these amazing sponsors on this slide are here for you. They are the reason why this conference is free. They are the reason why you're getting in all this information and learning it in and taking it in, okay? And you're gonna be able to get the recordings, resources, and content free for year round, okay? Make sure you go to visit their sponsor booth, okay? I don't wanna hear no sponsors talking about, ain't nobody came and seen me. Nobody wanna talk about what I gotta talk about. Y'all gonna pop on over, check out the booth, okay? And say hello, say Floyd sent me, okay? That's fine. But check them out, okay? We're also going to give a spotlight to our good friends at Virtuous. They believe generosity has the power to transform the world and the hearts of those who give. Their mission is to advance global generosity by helping nonprofits build meaningful connections with their supporters. Virtuous is more than a CRM, okay? It's a responsive fundraising platform designed to empower teams to strengthen relationships and increase impact with confidence. By unifying fundraising, marketing, automation, volunteering, and donor retention, because that's a lot of things, okay? Our platform eliminates redundant tasks. Remember, what did Kelly just say? What don't you like to do? And delivers actionable insights, enabling nonprofits to create personalized donor experiences at scale. Schedule your demo of Virtuous and see how Virtuous can help your nonprofit organization thrive with responsive fundraising. And I believe we got a little video. Listen, we're giving you multimedia over here, okay? So we have
the Virtuous responsive fundraising platform helps nonprofits build better donor relationships, save time, and grow giving. Fundraising in an ever-changing world isn't easy. Creating meaningful connections with your supporters at scale and retaining your existing donors, all while inviting new people to join your mission, can feel overwhelming. Spending your day digging through disconnected data and completing repetitive tasks, especially when you're relying on legacy tech that can't keep up, only makes the problem worse. Sound familiar? That's where Virtuous comes in. Virtuous increases giving by personalizing every donor interaction, and it saves your team time by integrating your data and automating your mundane tasks. We call this responsive fundraising. It means listening to donors, connecting personally, and tailoring donor journeys that inspire giving. And with Virtuous, you have all the tools you need in one flexible, enterprise-ready platform. Break down data silos with donor management tools that provide a 360-degree view of each donor, from digital engagement to individual interests. Marketing automation. Automate donor journeys, tasks, and data updates, so every touchpoint feels personal and impactful. Integrated marketing tools. Unify email, SMS, and website tracking with your donor data for targeted, personalized campaigns. Donor insights. Access combined wealth, social, and behavioral data to better understand your donors and create experiences that inspire them to take action. Accelerate your gift pipeline and never miss an opportunity with a major donor. Connect with your favorite software, customize your experience, and ensure your data is secure with the leading enterprise-grade platform. With Virtuous, your team can stop wasting time on manual tasks integrate data, and boost donor retention. It's time to build better donor relationships at scale with less work from your team. Let's grow generosity together.
Round state. All right. Yes, come on, Virtuous. We want to make sure we increase generosity together. So thank you. And just for Fundraising AI Summit registrants, get your free copy of the 2025 Virtuous Benchmark Report. It's more than data. It's your roadmap to sustainable growth. Packed with insights from 570, because that's a lot, top performing nonprofits. This report gives you actionable strategies to boost donor retention, recurring giving, and increase your overall revenue. Thank you, Virtuous. All right. Next, Donor Search. My good friends at Donor Search. Donor Search is the nonprofit sector's go-to partner for prospect research, wealth screening, and AI-driven fundraising intelligence. They empower organizations to find and engage donors with greater accuracy, speed, and confidence so they can raise more money and fuel their missions with lasting impact. At the core of Donor Search is a powerful combination of advanced AI, predictive modeling, and industry's most comprehensive philanthropic database featuring hundreds of millions of charitable and wealth data points. Their solutions are designed to meet fundraisers where they are. They don't just deliver data, they help you turn it into action, okay? Trusted by over 13,000 nonprofits, Donor Search is redefining what's possible in modern fundraising. So check them out at donorsearch.net and book a demo today. And y'all, we got another video, so take it away. Are we there? Hold on, backstage, let me make sure. 1 second.
Donor Search is absolutely leading the way in AI right now.
Donor Search AI is custom machine learning models predicting likelihood of repeat and future giving for nonprofits.
We now have some of the largest nonprofits as clients that are using predictive AI to kind of steer how they make choices about investing time, which is exactly what it was designed for.
Donor Search AI is the holy grail of data-driven decisions. We are able to predict who is going to give you a gift in the next 12 months.
It's always been about how do we bring the most value to our nonprofit clients.
One of the things that sets us apart is the accessibility and availability of the data that we actually deliver. We want our data to work where our clients want to work.
Hearing the fantastic testimonials from our clients about dollars that they've raised, money that they've saved, that is very fulfilling because not only are you helping raise the dollars, but you're also helping build those connections for a nonprofit that's going to be able to leave a wonderful legacy.
All right, our friends at Donor Search are providing two incredible resources. First is the Donor Search AI. This tool uses proprietary algorithms, okay, come on fancy, to recognize intricate patterns, process more data, and recommend what prospects are most likely to give within the next 12 months. And AI tools for nonprofits guide. Explore the best AI tools and strategies available for fundraisers to grow. Also, we have something called the Amplify Kit, okay? If you're not amplified by the impact or the Amplify stage or the Amplify challenge, baby, we're gonna give you the Amplify Kit, okay? You can't walk away from this summit without being amplified, all right? At Fundraising AI Attendee, you've unlocked something called the Amplify Kit. This kit is packed with thousands of dollars in exclusive savings, templates, and free resources, all generously provided by our speakers and sponsors. Think of it as your go-to toolkit to help you, turn this learning here into action. Come on, somebody. You can access the Amplify Kit right now under the resources tab. And don't worry, we'll also send it to your inbox so you can refer back to it anytime. And have you heard the news? We got Summit Plus, okay? What I've been saying all day, not Summit Minus, but Summit Plus, okay? We're gonna help you take it to the next level. There are 2 amazing tracks. Well, actually, this one today, we're gonna talk about the annual pass, okay? You get 12 months of unlimited Spark sessions. That Spark stage is all gonna be there for you, okay? Fresh topics for each month, tools and use cases, skills, and the divisive issues. Short, practical, nonprofit first, perfect for individuals or teams who want to stay sharp year round. And it's only $350. Okay, and you're gonna get that until September 17th. So keep the sparks flying. Use the code FAI Summit at checkout. We have the Q&A there. We have the chat there. That button on the Sparks Pass there. Okay. All right. Coming up. Oh, let me tell you, something good is coming up on this stage, okay? My good friend Beth Cantor is gonna bring the knowledge on how to work smarter, not just faster with AI, okay? How do you use AI to augment our human brains? And that is CFRE certified, okay? I always say CFRE is para mí, okay? Also on the innovation stage, our good friend Tim Lockey and Sean Olds, Courtney, and Dr. Kevin Sansbury are going to be talking about culture first. Unlock AI's potential through leadership, not just tools. That's good for you, the C-suite. If your board is not on board, come on somebody, we're gonna go. That's how we're gonna go there, okay? And then on the impact stage, making the ask to grant makers to support AI implementation. I don't know if y'all heard the news, but our good friends at OpenAI actually just did an open call for grants, and it's all about AI implementation. So y'all don't want to miss that, okay? And then, of course, the Sparks stage is open. These are quick, high-impact sessions to ignite your ideas and put AI into practice faster. Here is the whole list of sessions that are coming up all throughout the day, okay? You don't want to miss it. All right, friends, that is it for this session. Make sure you go and you view that schedule again and bookmark the sessions that you want to go to. I don't know about you, but I'm having a blast, okay? Eve says, where is the lounge? Go back into the reception hall, Eve, and you're going to see the lounge at the top bar, okay? Yo, I'm having a blast. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited for our next session coming up. So make sure you go and you see which session you want to go to, and I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all. See you soon.